Hello, my friends. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. And I just got back from an orthopedic surgeon to see about my shoulder. And it's personal medical information, so don't ask. I always wonder, these people, they talk about their personal stuff and then they tell you don't ask. It's personal. Why did I say it? I don't know. My shoulder's hurting and I went to see a doctor today. It's personal, don't ask. No, my shoulder's jacked and I got to get it fixed. But my good friend Paul Miller from Earthling Publications and the Friendly Neighborhood Mail Lady have done a boy a favor. They hooked a brother up. They got me a book in the mailbox to help put a smile on my face. Actually, the surgeon said, I can fix you up. You should be tip-top, cream of the crop, ready to fight. And I need a good fight. I don't know. I'm a goof. I admit it. I don't try to hide it too often. Sometimes I do. But Paul Miller, I mentioned that name already. One of my favorite people on God's Green Earth. Definitely one of my favorite publishers on God's Green Earth. Paul Miller. I've shown you so much of his stuff and talked about so many things that I've acquired and read and all that kind of stuff. So many books that I never would have read if it wasn't for Paul Miller. He is one of those special ones that have introduced some great ones into my life. I'll forget if I start going down the list with people like Philip Fracassi, Ian Rogers, Kealan Patrick Burke, Tyler Jones, Jonathan JANZ, so many authors that I probably wouldn't have read, or at least I wouldn't have read when I did, if it weren't for somebody like, or for Paul Miller himself, putting out their limited edition versions of their books, getting them out into consciousness, and in some cases, somebody vouching for one of them, and then me just saying, okay, I trust Paul Miller. I'll take his word for it, and I'll buy them. And so those Halloween series books, the first one I bought was Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi in 2021, and you don't have to tell me twice. I am so lucky that I did. This book is like $400 or $500 now, and I think I paid $50 for it from Paul Miller when it was new before it sold out. It's exploded, and Fracassi's one of my very favorite authors. This was 2021, and after this one, I bought each one. Each year he comes out with his Halloween series book. This one was 16, and I bought 17 and 18 and 19. And then the most recent one is The Widows of Winding Gale by by Kealan Patrick Burke. And it was number 20, right? 20? It was number 20, and as soon as it was available, I pulled it up, started to mash them buttons. I mashed half the buttons, and right before I hit the very last button, I said, I wonder. And yet I wonder. And so I went back on the website, backed up a screen or two, I don't remember, and I said, I wonder what he's at else. I'm sure there's books in the Paul Miller warehouse that I want. And so I didn't do a lot of hard looking because I wanted to complete my purchase. But I went back and looked and seen what he had available. And there was one that jumped out. One. There was a bunch. There was a lot of them that I probably should have bought. But I bought one. It had werewolves in it. And it sounded kind of cool. So I think it was $45 for a signed limited edition hardcover book. And we'll show you it in a moment. But it was one that was back a little bit in the catalog. I think number 11 in the Halloween series. And so I jumped in on 15. I went back a little bit to number 11 in the Halloween series. And it's here. And you notice I'm swinging this box around like it's empty because there's no book in there. I already took the book out. So I figured this was an old book. It's been out for a while. I'll show it to you in a book haul type video where I'll do a bunch of books that I got for the month that maybe ain't so exciting or new or something like that. And when I opened it up, I thought better of it. I realized, wait, this thing looks pretty cool. So anyway, as always, Paul Miller ships his stuff well, takes care of it to make sure when you get your book, it's got a great chance, as great a chance as it can have, of getting to you in tip-top, cream of the crop shape. Because if there's one thing in this world that I hate, it's a book that's busted up because a shipper did not protect it well enough. But anyway, he puts all these peanuts in here, and your book's in a bubble envelope buried in these white styrofoam gimmick here. And they always, from Paul Miller, have come in well. And I bought a bunch from him. So the odds, I mean, if he's 95%, I already would have had a busted up book. And I haven't. So in my unscientific method, he's better than 95%. But anyway, the book I bought, number 11, if you haven't already figured it out, is this one right here. Simon Clarke's Rage Master. And I have not read anything from Simon Clarke. So needless to say, I have not read Rage Master, but in so many ways, so many times, Paul Miller has put books in front of me that I read and I loved that I never would have read. Now, this one has got a lot of stuff in it that sounds really good. First of all, I read right on the front cover here that Simon Clarke is Britain's greatest living horror writer, according to SFX. So they vouch. But look at the cover artwork. It's about a werewolf or werewolves. We'll find out here in a bit more about it. But the artwork, cover illustration by Tomislav Kealan, cover design by Dina Warner. And there are at least a couple interior illustrations in this book. So somebody's been busy. And I told you it's $45. Hold that thought for a signed limited edition illustrated, at least 2 interior illustrations. Smith's sewn binding. There are so many limited edition publishers out there now, more and more, that are giving you a simple glued binding. And a simple glued binding is not the end of the world, but quality means it is sewn. It is Smith sewn, and with a Earthling Publications book, even their most economically priced ones, you're getting quality Smith sewn bindings. I already showed you that fantastic cover artwork on Rage Master. Now let me show you a little bit more about this. This is the Halloween series, number 11, but let me show you the materials. It's a type of a cloth cover. I don't know what you actually would call it, but it's not paper, and it's got foil stamping on the spine. You got a bit of a pumpkin there. It is the Halloween series number 11. Did I show you the spine of the book already? And it's got the trademark jack-o'-lantern or pumpkin with a number on it. So if you want to put them all together in a collection, which I think if I had them all from 0, I think there was a 0. I don't know how that worked. Maybe there was a 1 and then the next one was a 1. And anyway, if I had them all, I'd probably put them all together. But since I started at 15, and I don't think I'll ever really try to go and get the other 15 that I hadn't gotten so far, because there is a 0. And most of the authors that I've got are authors that I've begun collecting now. They're all, for the most part, in with sections with the authors. So we got Ian Rogers, Tyler Jones, Jonathan JANZ, Philip Fracassi, Kealan Patrick Burke is in another section there. And they're all kind of split up among the author's stuff, because Kealan Patrick Burke, I don't have any other books of his in the collection, but I intend to remedy that. What else? Oh, it is a signed limited edition. So let's look through here. Are in papers. A lot of them, not all of them, but you got these cool orange end papers, which I like because it's Halloween. Get it? Orange. I dig that, man. I dig it. It looks cool. And our signature page, which is illustrated, and you see the mushroom cloud, laying mother. Samuel L. Jackson. There'll never be another. And how does he Samuel L. Jackson when I say it, not Samuel Jackson? I think the middle initial just makes him more cool if he needs help being more cool. But it is signed. There is the signature. Looks kind of like initials. It looks like an LQ. So it's signed by LQ or Simon Clarke, whichever you prefer. Let's see. Mine is number 265 of 500 numbered and 15 lettered copies of Rage Master. And there are still copies available. I don't know what that says. I'm not trying to imply anything, but there are copies available, which is how I ordered one. And 2 birds with 1 stone. I get to buy something extra from a great fella, great company. Add something to my shelf that maybe opens up more opportunities and avenues for me in terms of authors that I dig, things I want to read. It's signed and numbered. And I put a new Halloween series, another Halloween series book on the shelf somewhere. But when I opened this up, I did flip through and I saw two, count them, two illustrations in here. So I'm going to try to find them again. Maybe there were three. Anyway, I'll flip through, try to find them again. You see the image doesn't go all the way to the page edge. So I really got to make sure I turn every page to find them. Makes this part of the job not quite as foolproof. And when you are a fool, you need foolproof. So let me try to find, I saw at least one other in here that I liked. All right, here's the other one that I remember seeing. Some cool interior illustrations. They do look cool. Smith's own binding, quality materials, signed and numbered. Awesome dust jacket artwork. What is the book about, you might ask? Well, I said it was about a werewolf or werewolves, but let's see a little bit about what it is. Wolf blood, human heart. Soviet Russia dropped an atomic bomb on one of its own towns in the winter of 1962. The intention was to exterminate the entire tribe of men, women, and children known collectively as the Wolf People. A few survived and escaped to the west. This book is about what happened to the remaining Wolf People and their bitter struggle to stay alive. Operation Wolf, The Secret Kill by T.A. Mercer. Present day. The Wolf People cannot stop killing when the rage takes hold. In turn, they are relentlessly hunted to the brink of extinction by government death squads. Then a child is born and brings about a transformation of the group. But does he represent a chance for his people to at last control their bloodthirsty nature, or represent a threat to the entire human race? Clark has the ability to keep the reader looking over his shoulder. That's what CNN said. Thrilling, terrifying, and deeply affecting. That's what Booklist said. But wait, there are more. So, what else did I read on here? The story flies by, and Clark has infused a great deal of action to keep the pages turning. But there's a deeper meaning to Rage Master. Socio-cultural issues are tackled here with the problems of oppression from various cultures, giving the novel and the characters a depth not typically found in a werewolf novel. Cavell's story is one based in violence as he seeks out the humanity in himself and his people. The writing itself is sparse but dead on, exactly what this story needs, nailing the brothers and their struggles as outsiders in a world that wishes to squash anything out of the norm. Simon Clark has delivered another strong work, one that rivals King Blood and nailed by the heart. Thanks to Earthling for another Halloween treat. That's from Cemetery Dance Magazine. Inventive and fast-moving Washington Post. Horror fiction as it should be written. Shocking but fascinating. That's what SFX says. And while I haven't read Simon Clark, therefore cannot vouch for him or this book, I asked a question. If a book is so great and it is signed and limited, why is it not sold out? And I have, maybe not the answer because I haven't read the book, but I have other examples of books that I loved, that I thought were fantastic, that are still available at the publisher. And if I tried hard, I could give you a bunch of them. But just one example. My favorite author on God's Green Earth is a fellow by the name of F. Paul Wilson. In my opinion, he's the best. He's my favorite. Well, there's a publisher who is nowhere near in the league of Earthling Publications who has published a lot of F. Paul Wilson limited edition books. And they still have quite a few. Some have been in their inventory for years, even decade or more. Maybe more. Maybe decades, I don't know. Maybe decade, though. That publisher had inventory of authors like Richard Matheson, Ray Bradbury, so it may not be a perfect example, but there are publishers that have great books stacked up in their warehouses, great ones that I've read, that I've bought, that I'm glad I have on the shelf, and they hadn't sold them out. So I find that not buying something because it didn't sell out quickly or for a long time or forever doesn't always mean that you're making a good choice in the end. So I don't know. Maybe this book is the best thing I've ever read, and maybe it's not even worth reading. It's probably somewhere in the middle, I'm assuming. But while I can't vouch, I know plenty of examples of great books that still sit on the shelf. So I don't want to use it as a disqualifier. I will read this book, and I will tell you what I think if you care. But I got a lot of books to read. I'm going to put this on the list of books, what gots to be read. I can't wait because it does sound cool. It sounds like we have a cool character. It sounds like a really cool story. Paul Miller published the book, and I really dig that fella too. But anyway, with that being said, it's in the inventory in my collection, and I'm glad to have it. And until we meet again, I can think of no more lies to tell. So thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and say la vie, baby. Doo-doo. I recently heard from a person that watched one of the videos that I posted, and he said there is no reason why somebody should carry on and on about a book.
What?
Cut to the chase.
What?
Get to the point.
What?
Everybody wants to watch a 7-minute video.
What?
And he says 2 books does not a 12-minute video make.
What? 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 What?
When have I ever been able to do a video in under 12 minutes?
I can't hear you.